Sherman track repair in Normandy began with a brutal fact. A broken or thrown track could turn a moving M4 Sherman into a stranded steel obstacle. Its gun might still fire. Its engine might still run. But with one track lying twisted beside the road, a roughly 30-ton tank was no longer advancing with its unit. The real question was not whether damage could stop a Sherman. It could. The question was what American crews and maintenance teams could repair where the tank stopped, before one mobility failure became a permanent loss. The answer was built into the Sherman running gear. Along each side of the hull, the track passed around a front drive sprocket and an adjustable idler at the rear. Between them sat 6 road wheels, paired inside 3 suspension bogies. Each bogie was attached to the hull as an assembly, while the track itself was made from replaceable blocks joined by connectors, wedges, and nuts. The system was not invulnerable. It was divided into parts that could be inspected, disconnected, replaced, and put back into service without rebuilding the whole tank. That distinction mattered in Normandy. The fighting took Shermans across beaches, narrow lanes, shell-damaged roads, fields cut by drainage ditches, and the dense hedgerows of the bocage. A tank climbing a bank could expose its lower hull. A mine could damage the running gear. Debris could work into the suspension. Mud could burden the tracks and wheels. Ordinary wear continued through all of it. The Sherman did not need a spectacular penetration through its armor to lose mobility. One failed part below the hull could stop the machine just as completely. But stopped did not mean destroyed. That is the first archival revelation. Wartime technical manuals did not treat the track as one sealed component. They described separate procedures for a damaged track block, a thrown track, a complete track, and an entire suspension bogie. Each problem demanded different tools and different support. Some work could be done by the crew. Some required a towing vehicle, a jack, a hoist, or trained ordnance mechanics. Repairability did not erase the damage. It created choices after the damage occurred. The smallest warning might appear during inspection. Sherman crews were instructed to examine the tracks at halts and after operation. They looked for poor adjustment, missing or loose hardware, damaged sprocket teeth, worn wool tires, and unserviceable track blocks. This was not paperwork performed far behind the front. It was an attempt to catch a small defect before motion turned it into a break. A loose wedge, an abnormal sag, or a damaged block could become the beginning of a much larger recovery problem. One defect had a precise name in the maintenance manual. A dead track block was not simply a block that looked battered. It meant the rubber bond between the track pin and the metal frame had failed, allowing the pin to turn when it should not. The instruction was direct. Replace it immediately to prevent track breakage. That sentence captured the logic of American field maintenance. The cheapest mobility failure was the one removed before it pulled the track apart on a road under enemy observation. Replacing that single block was a mechanical sequence, not a roadside improvisation. The crew positioned the damaged block between the rear idler and the last bogie wheel. They set the parking brake and released track tension. Wedge nuts and wedges came off. 4 end connectors were driven partway from the adjacent blocks. A track connecting fixture drew the 2 ends under control while the damaged piece was removed. The new block went into the same place. Connectors, wedges, and nuts secured it, and the track was tensioned again. Nothing in that process was magical. The important feature was that the failed element could be isolated. The manual told mechanics where to position it, which fasteners to remove, and how to hold the track while the replacement went in. The tank did not have to surrender an entire track because one block had failed. Standard hardware and a repeatable procedure turned a vague problem called broken track into a limited repair with a defined set of parts. That is why the word standardized matters, but it must be used carefully. Not every Sherman track type was interchangeable without regard to model or configuration. Maintenance teams still needed the correct component. Standardization meant that the M4 family used documented assemblies, known fasteners, established tools, and supply listings. A mechanic was not being asked to forge a unique link for an individual tank. If the right replacement block and connectors reached him, the repair procedure was already known. If you value military history that follows the machine past the specification sheet and into the workshop, subscribe to Arsenal Archives. The next part of this repair is where the simple picture of a crew fitting one new block gives way to a much harder battlefield problem. A thrown track could leave the links intact but displaced from the wheels, sprocket, or idler. Now the tank could not simply drive itself back onto the track. The manual first told mechanics to break the displaced track where its end was least twisted. That detail reveals how practical the instructions were. The aim was not to follow one elegant diagram regardless of conditions. It was to gain control of a heavy, awkward chain of track blocks lying under or beside an immobilized vehicle. If the track had been thrown, the prescribed method could begin with digging. A shallow trench was made so the suspension wheels could roll directly onto the laid-out track. A towing vehicle then pulled the Sherman into position. The idler was moved forward to reduce tension. Mechanics rolled the track around the rear idler, then used a cable from the towing unit to draw the upper run forward across the support rollers and toward the drive sprocket. The disabled tank had become part of a carefully controlled recovery operation. The two track ends still had to meet. A connecting fixture attached to them and pulled them together. The end connectors went over the exposed pins. Wedges locked the connectors, and wedge nuts held the wedges. Only after the joint was restored could the tension be adjusted. The manual specified checking the track between the support rollers and setting a measured amount of clearance. Too much slack invited another throw. Too little could overload the system. Repair ended with adjustment, not merely with getting the track back around the wheels. This procedure answers one part of the central question. A thrown Sherman track did not automatically require shipment to a distant depot. With suitable ground, the correct fixtures, a towing vehicle, cable, tools, spare hardware, and men who understood the sequence, it could be dealt with close to where the tank had stopped. But that list also corrects the heroic myth of one crewman solving every failure with a hammer. Field repair was possible because equipment and specialists could be brought forward. The suspension offered another level of modular repair. The vertical volute spring suspension grouped two road wheels and their springs inside each bolted bogie assembly. If damage was limited to one bogie, maintenance personnel did not always have to dismantle the suspension piece by piece on the vehicle. The manual described removal of the complete assembly. Track tension was released. The track was disconnected near the rear. The tank moved, or was moved, until the track cleared the damaged bogie. Then came the heavier work. Bolts securing the bogie to the hull were removed. The hull was supported with a jack. A hoist handled the suspension assembly as it came away. A replacement assembly could be installed, the track reconnected, and tension restored. This was not necessarily a casual crew task beside every lane. It required lifting equipment, a serviceable spare, and enough security to work. Yet it was still an assembly replacement rather than a demand to send the entire tank back for a complete suspension rebuild. That modularity created a ladder of responses. A crew might tighten or inspect. A damaged block might be replaced. A thrown track might be recovered with assistance. A complete bogie might be exchanged by a properly equipped maintenance team. More serious hull damage, multiple shattered stations, fire, or a tank trapped under direct enemy observation could push the job beyond local repair. The strength of the system was not that every case had a roadside solution. It was that the damage could be sorted by level instead of receiving one answer for all failures. Normandy made that sorting urgent. A disabled tank on a narrow route could block more than itself. It could slow ammunition trucks, fuel vehicles, ambulances, and the next armored element trying to pass. Official American ordnance histories describe forward collecting units patrolling roads with wreckers to clear broken vehicles, sometimes close to the fighting. Recovery was therefore both a maintenance problem and a traffic problem. Moving one Sherman from a lane might restore the movement of an entire column. Behind those patrols stood a layered organization. Collecting companies recovered disabled vehicles and brought them to points where damage could be assessed. Medium maintenance companies supported combat formations with repair capability and replacement stocks. Heavier maintenance units handled work beyond the forward shops. Tank recovery vehicles, wreckers, transporters, mobile equipment, and radio links connected those layers. A tank that could not be repaired at the roadside could move to a collecting point. A job too large there could move farther back without automatically condemning the vehicle. This network was already operating during the first weeks ashore. American ordnance units landed with wreckers, recovery vehicles, tools, and spare parts. One medium maintenance company came ashore soon after the invasion, established a collecting point and shop, then pushed its field workshop close behind the advance near Montabourg. Its men worked after dark in blackout conditions. Another heavy maintenance company, despite losing men and equipment when a landing ship was sunk, continued refitting and repairing badly needed tanks. These accounts exposed the hidden half of Sherman track repair. The visible action was the connector driven from a pin or the replacement bogie lifted against the hull. The invisible action began earlier, with parts packed for the landing, tools assigned to maintenance units, and recovery vehicles placed where they could reach the battlefield. It continued afterward, with damaged tanks classified, moved, repaired, and returned. The Sherman was reparable because its components and the American maintenance organization were designed to meet each other. That system was not frictionless. Normandy created spare parts problems as well as battle damage. Cargo had to be unloaded, identified, sorted, and moved from congested beach areas to units that needed it. A replacement part somewhere in the lodgement was not the same as a replacement part beside a disabled tank. Recovery vehicles could bog down, routes could be blocked, and forward mechanics could work under threat. Standardization shortened the problem. It did not abolish distance, confusion, mud, or enemy fire. Nor did a successful field repair come with one universal time. The documents describe procedures and organizations, but the duration depended on damage, location, tools, parts, weather, tactical pressure, and whether another vehicle could assist. A clean block replacement on firm ground was not the same job as recovering a twisted track from a cratered lane. Exchanging a bogie in a protected workshop differed again from lifting a damaged assembly within range of German artillery. Any single promise number would hide the conditions that actually controlled the work. The operational payoff came from probability, not perfection. Every Sherman recovered before capture or destruction preserved a trained crew's familiar vehicle, reduced the demand for a replacement tank, and helped a unit rebuild its strength. Every defect caught during inspection might prevent a road blockage later. Every complete assembly exchanged near the front saved the time and transport required for a deeper evacuation. No individual repair won the Normandy campaign. Thousands of such maintenance decisions helped keep armored formations from losing vehicles faster than the system could return them. This is also why judging the Sherman only by armor thickness or gun performance misses part of the machine. A tank exists inside a campaign. It has to travel, fail, be reached, accept spare parts, and return to service. The Sherman could be immobilized by a mine, an obstacle, wear, or a track thrown at the worst possible moment. Yet its running gear gave maintainers several points where a failure could be separated from the rest of the vehicle. So what could crews and maintenance teams repair beside the road instead of sending the tank away? They could replace an unserviceable track block and its hardware. They could reconnect a broken track. With towing assistance and the proper fixtures, they could guide a thrown track back around the running gear. With jacks, lifting equipment, and a correct spare, a maintenance team could exchange a complete bolted suspension bogie. The boundary moved with the damage and the resources available. The result was a contradiction only on the surface. A damaged track could stop the Sherman instantly, but it did not always remove the tank from the campaign. The links were separable. The suspension was grouped into replaceable assemblies. The procedure was written down. The tools and parts had places in the supply system. Recovery units connected the battlefield to workshops close behind it. The Sherman was not designed never to break. It was designed so that many breaks did not have to be the end. In Normandy, mobility was not preserved by one miraculous field fix. It was preserved by a chain of ordinary, disciplined actions, from the crew checking a loose connector to the wrecker clearing a lane and the mechanic fitting a spare bogie under blackout canvas. A broken track could end an advance. The Sherman field repair system made sure it did not always end the tank's war.